All right, so I'm here with Lexi and Khaki, and we're going to review the week's progress. Thomas and Jack sent their regrets they can't make it. Jack had a personal appointment, and Thomas was running the New York monthly type meetup, Type Thursdays, which ran late last night, so 7 a.m. he can't make it.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, I think maybe might be able to join us. I'm not sure. And then obviously Gunnar also regretfully is not going to be joining us. And so I'm looking at maybe bringing in another designer who has even more of like an engineering focus.
Okay.
So Omer's away this week, so I need to discuss it with him. But I'm pretty confident that we can bring in maybe even more than one person.
Okay.
So the first thing that I'd like to chat about is like the sort of checklist.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have the checklist in Markdown still. I need to still transfer it to the sheet, which I'll do later today. It's still not. It does not include any of the like I had mentioned in the email or on the discussions list. It doesn't include any of the final export and rechecking and stuff because Hume still needs to work on the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
But includes everything till that point. You want me to kind of open it and screen share?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, just give me a second. Yeah, so I'll need to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah. So I'm using a Markdown editor called Moo, M-O-U, which is for, or Mao, or Mo, I don't know how to pronounce it. Probably Moo. Yeah, which is only available for OS X, and it's like a free Markdown editor that gives you immediate preview. Yeah, so I'm just going to open the preview, just show the preview. So I kind of started thinking about I started this while I was working on Anaheim, while making fixes to Anaheim. So this kind of, at the end of it, I felt like I'd kind of created a list that was a mixture between a tutorial and a checklist. So I kind of made I made like some changes to kind of make it less like a tutorial. I think there is some room for a tutorial to be there. So maybe in the coming weeks,
I'm happy with that. I don't think that there's any harm in having the step more close so that it's more tutorial-like.
Yeah, so I think I might work next week towards making it more of a tutorial with images and stuff like that. Yeah, so I mean these are so I divided the steps into some larger steps, which is like preparing the stuff like preparing the files and expansion and spacing, and then these are the ones that are not yet done because I haven't started doing this. So it started by, of course, forking the original development repo. If there isn't a repo, then you kind of create one. But for Anaheim, I already have the repo, so this kind of reflects that workflow, and maybe I can add the other scenarios, within this first step. And then it's very simple. It's clone, fork, and these are all in minutes, so it's 2 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on how much time whether you logged in or not, whether you can find the repo in your first search or not, stuff like that, 2 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then clone the fork and then make a branch. So I like to make a branch because especially for the expansions, it's mostly like a sprint for me. So I like to kind of use this format, which is quite descriptive. So I use this format, and then I create a once the branch is created, I create a subdirectory, which is like version underscore and then the increment. So if it's version 1.232 or whatever, or version 3, then it's immediately version 4 because we are extending the character set. So it's not a minor bug fix or anything, it's just a straight jump.
Yeah.
Then I create another subdirectory called legacy and then move all the remaining contents into that as like a blanket thing first. And then I copy the README and then you copy the README.md and the OFL.txt from that directory into the main parent directory. And I see that you have a repository called Glyphs export. So I think we can include some of. Is that supposed to be like an ideal OFL repository?
So yeah, it was at least the Glyphs files, and I think that we can, there's this other repository, like universal repository, like model or thing.
Yeah.
And we can probably make our own one,
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that the recommended.txt and the authors.txt, not recommended. Sorry, the authors.txt and the contributing.md can come in here in this step, and then I then copy the whatever source file there is. So if it's a UFO file, then I'll move that to the new version x.xxx file. And if the sources are in VFB or SFD format, then I use the respective export Python script to convert to glyphs and make that glyphs file as the standard source. And if I have a UFO, I'll open the UFO source and before doing anything, save it as a glyphs file so that I continue working on the glyphs file.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the naming convention for the glyphs file, which of course is open to debate, but I was just I'm been using this, so that's what I kind of recommend. And then
I agree.
Yeah, and then
I like to add a date. I like to add a date to the name to be.
Yeah, but the name is, I find since we're using Git, I think the name is, the date is kind of redundant because if you keep changing the date, Git kind of thinks that it's a new file.
Okay.
So
no, I'm always making copies when I tend not to work in one file just when I save something or something important, an important step, and I add a date to it, for example.
Yeah, so that's what I used to do, and I think the use of Git has completely changed that. So what I do is if I'm kind of doing certain amount of changes, then I'll use this name and kind of use this branch to make those changes. And then once I'm done, I'll check out to master, and then let's say I want to you can branch that branch and change the date. So instead of actually changing or making multiple copies of the file, it's kind of better to make branches so that it's one file you're working with, and all you need to do is keep track of the branch. So which is easy because it's named according to date, so you can just jump to whichever date you want.
So I think that kind of. I think that sounds very nice, but I also have to look into that because I'm not. I'm a novice when it comes to GitHub.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's the name, and then I start with a list filter. So whatever target character set I need to expand the font to, I'll download the list from. Well, not download. So I assume that this repository is already forked, and I have a local copy of it, so I can refer the filter lists at any point of time. So I'll kind of take those filter lists. And this is kind of a one-time step only. So even if you're not, like if before you even start doing any of this, you can open Glyphs, create a new list filter, and create 3 list filters for Plus, Pro, and Expert, so that you don't have to do this step again. So I guess then that removes this kind of time from that development time.
Yeah, then, I mean, I think that in this sheet I have like a preparation thing, which is, you know, like stuff to do only once as a designer.
Yeah.
And then like the per project stuff.
Hey,
yeah, so I think, yes.
This list filter, you can copy a file named customfilter.list in the Google Fonts, in Glyphs app directory, and you'll get all the filters. That's easier.
Okay.
I'm just going to add that to the same link, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's, I can add like a preparing the file section and then put these things there. Then after that, I open the font info window, and under the font tab, add the custom parameter glyph order, or change the custom parameter glyph order if it's not already set. That helps, and I use the filter list. I copy paste the glyph list from the filter list to the glyph order, so I don't have to constantly, I mean, I don't have to deal with 2 different glyph orders. It helps me understand the character set better and makes everything more organized. After this, well, I just, I kind of select all the glyphs that are not in the predefined sorting block. So there may be, the original file may have glyph naming, which is not, which may have glyphs which are in the filter, but they don't use the same glyph name, so they don't kind of, they fall after the predefined sorting. So for those glyphs, I just select all the glyphs and run glyphs update glyph info, so it mostly fixes all of those things and adds it to the predefined sorting block. I find it easier to kind of, and of course, for this to work, you need to have use nice names selected under font info and other settings. And
Kalapi, it's now called use custom naming, and you have to uncheck use custom naming.
Oh, okay, I still have this for some reason.
It's troubleshooting Markdown.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I find it to, if there are lots of glyphs that are not in the predefined sorting block, I like to go block by block, so I know exactly what is being updated, so that if there is something that did not change or something that's included which is not in the predefined sorting, I kind of make a mental note of those glyphs. Then after this first block is done, I will make my first commit and push the files. So that's kind of my way to save that work. It's being saved, of course, on the local disk, but it's better to kind of, I like to commit it so it gets there. Then the expansion work begins. So I generate all the all the non-component glyphs, so all the glyphs that I need to draw. And I've made like a separate filter of that, which is also easy to make from the list, so that, so I kind of make those because I want to get those out of the way first. And that kind of takes me between, depending on the design and depending on how many glyphs are included, not included, between 2 to kind of 2.5, 3 hours. So I kind of added that here. At least for the 3, this is of course data from the 3 fonts that I've worked on. I'm sure that for stuff like Lobster and more complex designs, it may take much longer. And in some case, in the case of Anaheim, it was missing stuff like the set symbol, empty set symbol, and I used the matte font for it, which took even less time than designing it. So I guess that would reduce the total time. And then I adjust and fix the components, which means that a lot of the times component in all the 3 fonts that I've worked with, the component order is messed up. For some reason, always the mark is the first component for some reason, and that kind of screws up with automatic alignment. So I need to, I kind of use this rebuild components macro to help me figure that out. And while I'm doing that, I kind of make sure that if there are glyphs that should be components and are not components, I kind of make them components. Rebuild components helps to some extent in that case, but not always.
Khaki?
Yeah.
What I do is the other way around. I first fix all the anchors, and then rebuild the combined characters.
Yeah,
so you don't have to do this. Just fix components.
Yeah. So I think, I think we can change that to kind of reflect.
Anyway, this is my way of working. It just.
Yeah. No, I do the same thing because when I'm drawing the missing glyphs, I am also drawing the case variants for the combining marks in some cases. So I'm already starting to put anchors at that point. So I think this should be before anyway. Yeah. And then and then there are some of the spacing things we discussed earlier that we are not doing any respacing. So the important spacing things like making CR and NB space equal to the space character as is recommended in the Microsoft spec, Microsoft's specification website. And then I check and fix overall spacing of the newly drawn glyphs. So stuff like the currency symbols, if they work properly with the numerals and stuff like that, and then check and fix the overall spacing for new component glyphs. So when I'm expanding the character set, making sure that it's the base character that's using the, it's using the correct metrics and not screwing up. So that's what I've got for now. And then of course, I should also add commit and push again, because then I commit and push and send it to Nyung to kind of send a message to Nyung to inform her that she can take over the files. Yeah, so that's about where I've gotten to. I'm sure that everybody else may use more intermediate steps, and I'll add this in a new sheet, maybe end of the day today. So if you guys can add more stuff, that would be great.
All right, thank you, Glyph.
Yeah.
Hey, Khaki, do you actually need the CR character? Is it compulsory?
I'm not sure. I do. The only reason, I've been trying to find a reason why it should be in there. I know the backup font will have a carriage return, so that should not be a problem. But because the spacing is different, I don't know. I just included it because it's not too much work. It hardly takes like
maybe
2 to 3 seconds.
generate English now. If you don't have it, well, maybe. Oh.
Do you mean when you generate the font?
Yeah, a TTF.
Maybe.
I think
yeah.
So. It might be just auto-generated.
So there's a list of white space characters on Wikipedia, and I am hoping that we will have font bakery check to ensure that all of these characters are actually white, and that the ones that should have the same width as space do.
Okay.
Okay, so Gunnar provided a sort of checklist for his first efforts on his first project, and I will catch up with him, find out if he would provide a similar kind of checklist. So let me just make a note of this. Okay. So Jack and Alexei, do you guys also have like checklists of your process?
I understand that sentence.
I'm sorry, say again?
I didn't understand the last sentence.
Sorry. Khaki has, kept his journal of the steps involved in his cleanup projects, so that it's clear, what each step is, so that we can map that to future projects. Do you guys also have a list like that?
No, but it's as far as I can see, is pretty similar. Only, like I said, the naming of the font or naming of the maybe adding a date or not, that may be the only difference, but it's pretty much the same. Yeah. But I didn't make a list. No.
Okay. I think that that's I think something I want to sort of like formally request is that we make sure that we don't miss anything. That if there are any steps that you take which are material, I mean maybe the file naming. Actually, in Khaki I would say about that, people have different levels of sophistication or experience when they're using, Git version management control systems.
Yeah.
And Pablo in Polari is, he's quite a technical guy, web developer, but he, tries to keep things really simple. And I think that, if someone's really comfortable with all the features of Git, then they would set things up a certain way. And if people are less comfortable, they would do things another way. And if people are basically treating it like Dropbox, and it's just a way of sharing files, they would use it another way. Yeah. And I don't really want to be too prescriptive about like how the repo should be set up, because the repo should have everything that the designer uses in their process, and however they want to do that is fine with me. I think it's good you can offer like a best practice, but I do think if Mac wants to name things by date instead of using branches, that's fine with me. I don't have any issues with that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But so, in terms of like material changes, then are there glyphs macros to run? Is there other smart filters to use? Are people using color coding? This kind of process stuff that's material to the design and production process. I think that's kind of what I want to have checklisted.
Okay.
So Jacques, does my request make sense?
Yeah, sounds fine. It's just.
And then.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay. And then Alexei, what about you?
Well, yeah, my process is somewhat similar. I do I do have a particular procedure for extending Cyrillic, which I'm still figuring out. Like, I'm automating the process of drawing Cyrillic characters because there are a lot of borrowed shapes, and I start with making spear components of like descender hooks, and then I write custom glyphs so that they would be semi-auto-generated, and then it's faster for me to fill in the Cyrillic code page.
Yeah.
As for the overall process, it's similar to what Khaki has described.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe one layer could be added to Khalapi's scheme is that we on the font mini workshop we put like this cleanup checklist, and I'll run down all the steps at the start when I'm introducing the file into Glyph. I'll run down this whole most of the points just to be sure, and then at the end of the process I'll do it again. So. and I didn't see that on our list. That's maybe the big difference.
For testing, there are also a couple of Glyph scripts that I use. The pre-flight script, it checks the characters for legal names and problems with outlines. And there's another script that builds a web page that you can see your drawn characters in it. It's helpful. I'll put them on the list.
Yeah, I got the pre-flight one there on line 69.
Yeah.
What's the preview page you're talking about?
I don't remember don't recall the name. I will check it out in the files and
Okay.
in the document. But actually, of all the scripts that I wrote, like it was on that spreadsheet, it was the maximum number of known glyphs. But actually, I've known scripts, but I've tried some of them, and some of them are not useful, or some of them just break your components and anchors and mess up the file bad. So that list needs to be revised.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's like the main thing that I would like to get sorted up, throughout today, because yeah, as I said, I want to bring in more sort of slightly more junior type designers, and I want to be able to give them a list and tell them this is what we want you to do, and this is how much time we expect it to take, and this is a list of families that I want this process to.
Right. Hey, Kalapi, could you repeat about the branches, because I didn't understand. Do you mean create a new branch on GitHub with the legacy files, or?
No. So if the project is already on GitHub, it kind of uses a specific kind of organization, right? So it has in Anaheim's, in Anton's case, for example, there was version 1, and then there was a subdirectory called version 1, and then a subdirectory called version 1.4.423, something like that, and then a subdirectory called what is it called? In progress. So what I do is I kind of put all of these things, take the latest file, or what I think is kind of the best source to work with, and put everything in a subdirectory called legacy. And then a new version subdirectory where I kind of put the source and start working, so that the other files don't obfuscate kind of where to find the main source.
All right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else to talk about on sort of checklists?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Maybe one thing, and that is a little bit. I'm stepping a little step forward to a thing I want to speak on later on. Is to check the actual size, the body size, and the drawings. Because what I noticed working on Sigma 1 is that it has been drawn very big on the body, which doesn't allow us much room for example, accents or combining Vietnamese accents. So that might give a problem afterwards. Because a lot of starting designers start to often draw too big and not thinking of implications. And I think we will encounter that more often. So, what is the best way to work? Maybe not include Vietnamese, or still include Vietnamese. And just asking, just putting up questions.
Sure. I think it's it's a very important question, and it's not something that I have a straight answer for. I mean, basically, we want to improve the quality of things. We don't want to introduce too drastic changes, but if we have to, we have to. And it's not clear to me actually what the contemporary browser situation is like with respect to this stuff, because there was some research that was done like 6 years ago and hasn't really been redone on how scaling on the EPM and vertical metrics works. So I think.
Well, I think if you scale 1-to-1, for example, from TrueType UPM to PostScript UPM, I don't think much will change because it's all relative. But what I example did as a test file, that's how I put it in my GitHub, with Sigma 1, is that I scaled it down to a small bits to it. So actually I made the body itself larger. So the type will be smaller on the body. But that gave me the opportunity to solve all the problems with big Vietnamese accents. But if you would update that typeface compared to the original, you'll have smaller typeface, about a quarter, or like 25%.
Yeah, I understand. Let me just check it out right now. Do you have a base view about this? Like a priori view?
Sorry, that got cut. What were you asking me?
Do you have a immediate response to what Jack's saying?
Yeah, I mean, I used to deal with this problem when I was working at Dalton Brown. I think there are some, like you said, there are some browsers that don't really take the bounding box restrictions into consideration, and they're happy to kind of display what is outside. But I don't know the best way we can kind of mitigate the problem. I mean, we can always scale everything down, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah. So if we're going to extend Vietnamese, though, I don't know really how we can avoid it. So I'm just I haven't cloned Jacques repo down, so I'm just sharing my screen so you can see, sort of what I'm doing there. These are the two test files, right? Yeah, that's quite a big difference.
It'll differ a lot. I mean, but I think Sigma 1 is a typical case of drawing too big. I mean, I would actually be the last person to size down a typeface on its body, but it was more a test to look what would happen. But for this typeface, it would be the best solution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Without just to keep a nice design. Otherwise, you'll have very cramped accents because a lot of it have to be changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think this is an extreme example because scaling down will have a lot of effect on the outline. So, for example, if you well-drawn typeface and you scale them down, then you will have problems. But this typeface is a little bit like fuzzy, so it can handle the scaling down.
So I don't. Are you seeing my screen sharing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this actually appears to make very little difference.
It's funny. I didn't expect that.
No, indeed. I think if we go over here, there's maybe here it is. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this amount of change I'm very comfortable with. You know, it's going to reflow things a little bit, but it makes the font better.
Would you be able to do this same test in another browser?
Yeah, that's a great idea. So let's try into Safari. I'm at home right now. I don't have access to a Windows machine here. Yeah, same. Same. Okay, and so now I want to check out the vertical metrics. Right. Okay. So yeah, interesting. So the test has got all of the points. Oh, hang on. No, that's not right. I see. Yeah. So the original was 166% of EPM, and this reduces it to only 156. So Pablo was suggesting, to only go 120% above.
120, because he said something like 1,250 units.
Yeah, exactly. That's 125. Yeah, 125%. But then because you have this weird, sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. The number you're highlighting now, that's exactly what I mean. I tried to keep to this 1,250 units.
Okay, so that's a slight misunderstanding. So there's two things. There's the UPM and its proportional relation to the maximum Y max and Y min, drawing on the body, and assuming 1,000 unit UPM, then 125% of that, i.e. 1,250 units, is considered the maximum safe amount of drawing space that you have.
Wait a minute. Maybe strange, because what I did actually is that I scaled the UPM now to 800 and then added in the vertical in the font info 200 units to it.
Where did you add the 200?
Masters there, like ascender and descender. So it's the total is 1,000.
Right. But this doesn't matter. What matters is the because these are just because these are just this is just metadata in the file, and so my understanding is actually that this metadata is now just set incorrectly because the ascender and descender are meant to sum up to the EPM. Khaki, is that what you understand?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that this is really making a difference.
No, this doesn't make that much of a difference. I think with regards to the clipping, it's more to do with the typo ascender with The wind ascent, wind descent, and yeah.
But if I reduce both of those by 100, and then change this to like test 800. And then export it again. Yeah, so the EPM and the points, in that grid space are the same.
Yeah, I mean that won't change the scaling of the glyphs. Have to be manually scaled, right? Because they, regardless of what metric value you kind of input, doesn't change the actual point positions on the Cartesian scale. That will remain the same.
No, it's not the same. It's, when you scale it down, when you scale it down, it's to have a decent size.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah, so it is having an effect. We can see that here.
Yeah, but the size of the type does not change.
If you change the metrics, you're right. But if you change the UPM, it's scaled down or up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So how would you, if you want to try this idea of scaling down just to test it, and I have to then put back the 1,000 units into it to scale it up again, or what?
Sorry, hang on a second. So, default bakery scripts have this auto fix, and so that's created this new set of files. And the yeah, okay. So this has changed the vertical metric settings, which is different to the UPM stuff, and this has changed them to be to eliminate clipping. So the vertical metrics are here set to the maximum, Y min and Y max of the drawings.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that's going to create like a very different scale on the body. Yeah, so the physical size of the drawings is the same, but the white space, the line space is totally different. And so you can see here that the cursor is blinking, but the height of that cursor is within the text line. But over here, oh no, that's also the case. But then if I go to this text and start making a selection, it's like that. And then here, it's like that. Okay. Go over to Latin. So, for example, here you have the K comma accent and the O double graph, and they're colliding. And here there's no collision.
Yeah, and it's the same file, right?
Well, it's nearly the same file. it's only the vertical metrics which have changed. And then here you see the diacritics for Vietnamese are being obscured by the diacritics for Vietnamese. And here it's clear.
But in both tabs, you've selected the same font.
Well, it's the same font with the vertical metrics being different. And when the vertical metrics are set this way, it doesn't really make a difference, from what I can tell. Like the spacing seems even higher. So which is the tallest character in this font?
A-ring acute, maybe?
Yeah, but I changed that. But I changed a lot of stuff to just fit the height. Yeah. And there was O tilde macron was pretty high as well, capital.
Okay. Okay. There's a script that I have. It's a bit convoluted to find this out. Oh god.
If you want to do the highest or the lowest glyphs, you can do that in glyphs. There's a script for that.
How do you do it?
Well, let's see. It's let me start glyphs first. It was on scripts test and report highest or report lowest glyphs.
Okay, whose repo?
Sorry?
Where is the script from? Where is the script from?
I think it was Toshi's. I'm not sure. Let's see.
There we go. Yeah, it's in Mecha Blue.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He updated it a few weeks ago, so it's a fairly new one. And that's what I use to get those vertical metrics and to get those maximum bounding blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, and I thought it was based on 1,000 EPM, so that's why I stuck to the 1,250.
I still don't have it. Oh no, there we go. Test.
You have to select all.
I think it will be in your in the macro window.
Exactly.
The output.
Results are in the macro window. Sorry, I was.
Window and yeah, macro panel.
Jack, does it run for you?
It does.
Which is the glyph?
Let me try. Did you? I'll close. Let's see. Do you want the test one or do you want the standard one? I'll take both.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Sigma 1 scripts. test. You want the lowest or the highest one? Let's start with the highest one.
Right.
Okay, the highest one in the normal Sigma one with no reduced UPM is O tilde macron.
Capo.
The lowest one. Moment. The lowest one is it's an G accent com.alt, which I should have changed. Anyway, is G accent.
Cap G.
Yeah, it's all capital.
But it's capital lowercase encoding.
Well, they're both the same. They have the same accents. So that's both as low as.
All right. Okay, and then the other.
The tallest one.
The test file.
Oh, sorry. Of course. Moment. Okay. Select all. Well, the lowest is again G accent. All combined characters with comma accent. Let's see. The tallest one is now test. Is A breve hoek above.
Okay, so the G accent didn't change, did it?
Well, what I did, I made the comma accent smaller, so in Hive, just to be able to earn some pixel down there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So 381.
I can give you the coordinates you want because the report is including coordinates.
Okay, so what are the coordinates? Yeah.
That might save some work.
Yeah.
Anyway, a moment, please.
Yes.
So, the highest one of the tests was our brave hook above, and it's 949 units.
904.
949.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the lowest one is G accent, which is minus 300 units.
Mm-hmm.
Let's change file. The lowest point in the normal file is G accent is minus 380 units, so 380. The highest is O tilde macron has 1253 units. It's 1253.
So my script is reporting that the ymin in the regular file is 411, not 380.
Yeah, that's a mistake I made because there's one accent that should be corrected. That's something that will be corrected in the end. Do you want to, or do you want that already? Because that's a comma. You have in the font you have a comma accent and a combined comma accent combined dot alt, which is now lower. But I should have corrected that. I didn't.
Okay, got it. Right. Okay, that's cool. Okay.
But it isn't used. It isn't used in a font.
Okay. So what I'm wondering is the default vertical metrics from glyphs going to cause clipping? What do you think, Khaki?
I'm not sure. I need to. I'll have to check the font.
Because
I think they may cause clipping depend. I think they will not cause clipping on the web. I think when you use Impalari, when you're the Impalari testing page, when you're typing in the beginning, it kind of cuts it off. But as soon as you like deselect that one line and you're selecting another line, it kind of shows the marks.
yeah,
I think the places it will clip in are Microsoft
right,
applications. So
right,
that requires that the WinAscent, WinDescent be the Ymin and Ymax.
right. Okay, and that's not what glyphs does. By default.
No.
Okay. All right. So I think that
And
this
even
is
in
probably like
even in that there is a bit of like a bit of a problem. So for example, direct write,
yeah,
either direct write or the new one. The new one kind of solves that problem, but
yeah,
all direct write applications have the clipping. So that's kind of a backward legacy thing. Well, it's not
yeah.
really legacy because a lot of current applications still use direct write. So that still needs to be thought about.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think what I'm gonna ask is, Clappy, because your checklist stuff is, sort of, you've done quite a lot of that stuff already. I think that what I
Yeah.
would like to ask you to do is to really sort of dive into this vertical metrics and scaling issue. Because the recommendations that I have are like quite a few years old. And this is going to be, I think, quite an issue. So let me just let's see here. So just going back over to glyphs and then looking at these two characters. If I paste them in over here, then you see this sigma 1 test. There's a lot of white space above this, which doesn't make sense to me.
Me neither.
That's, I think, because of the vertical metrics, no?
Well, yes, but the vertical metrics are set to the Ymin and the Ymax. So it doesn't make sense that there would be any space unless there's like a stray point somewhere.
Yeah. But
that's
again,
the old.
is it, so this is, these both windows are Chrome, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're different Chrome. So this is Chrome Canary, and then this is regular Chrome. And that's because the fonts have got the same family name metadata. It's just the vertical metrics are different. And the Impalari testing page won't distinguish them. So you have to have totally separate browsers in order to have different fonts with the same name metadata.
Okay.
And what does the test 800 do, like last app?
So this one adjusted the ascent and descent to sum to 800 instead of 1,000. And here it makes no difference. But
No,
here it
doesn't,
makes a difference. And so I don't know why it makes a difference here. I think, actually, I do know. I think the reason is that in the vertical metrics, the vertical metrics are different.
Wait,
So,
is there, why is in Sigma 1 regular the typo line gap is 200 and in 800 it's 160 or 150?
right, exactly. And that's why we're seeing a difference here.
Yeah.
Because the vertical metrics, modified ones, are all set to be the same. Oh, hang on. I think that's it. So I think that if I look at the vertical metrics here, and I think I just was lazy and ran the script on all the files, and so it set it really high because it's used these values. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I need to run this on each file individually.
You're being very lazy, Dave.
Uh-huh. Okay. So reload. Oh. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chrome just crashed on me.
No.
Restart my computer, it's dying.
Yeah.
So I think so. Could you, while I'm rebooting, go to the mini workshop spreadsheet, and there's some bright blue cells near the top for the days this week. Can you fill in which days you worked on which families?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll reboot.
I think I have already filled in. Let me check.